Later today, the U.S. military will destroy a missile silo in North Dakota. It's part of the final phase of the START treaty signed between President Reagan and Soviet President Gorbachev in the 80s. CNN's Jeff Flock is at one of those facilities and joins us now from Griggs County. Hi, Jeff.
Good morning to you, Kira. We are giving you an extraordinary live look today as the START Treaty is in fact carried out. I come to you 60 feet beneath the North Dakota plains this morning in a very well-fortified facility. Perhaps you see this door alone, perhaps 3 feet thick. This is a launch control center for a Minuteman III missile, one of 15 launch control facilities and one of 150 silos that will be imploded as a result of the START Treaty. First, I want to give you a tour of this facility, but first I want to orient you as to where we are. To do that, we go upstairs to the North Dakota plain, pretty desolate and pretty foggy this morning. This is where these launch control facilities and these silos are arrayed. Again, 150 silos, and at noon Eastern time today on CNN, we will show you what it looks like to implode one of these tremendously well-fortified facilities looks like. But first, before we do that, I want to give you some perspective on this missile. The Minuteman III missile is an intercontinental ballistic missile. It's about 60 feet in length, about 5.5 feet in diameter, weighs about 80,000 pounds. This is a very big piece of hardware. The range on the missile, about 6,000 miles, and it cost $7 million to build. And I am joined by Colonel Chuck Carpenter this morning, who is with the U.S. Space Command, U.S. Air Force Space Command, which commands, I suppose, the missile systems in the U.S. What's happening today, and how extraordinary is what's going on today?
Jeff, this is a very important day for the Air Force and for the people of North Dakota and for the nation, because today we move one step closer toward compliance with an arms control agreement with the Russians designed to reduce the number of weapons in our strategic arsenal.
As we talk here, I want to give our viewers some look at the Minuteman III and watch its launch, an extraordinary process where that door rolls back and the missile comes out. What does this leave us in terms of our Minuteman III arsenal?
Well, the Air Force is very committed to the ICBM force, and we still have 500 Minuteman IIIs and 50 peacekeeper missiles on alert day to day.
The other thing is that you, I know, what they call pulled an alert down in this facility. Show me what we're looking at right here. This is a control panel?
This is the control status panel that the crew members use to monitor the status of the missiles, and each one of the columns of lights represents a specific missile and tells about the health of the missile.
Now, if we look at that, Rick, if you're able to see it, we see things like standby, enabled, missile away, and I take it that's what those meant?
That's correct. That's exactly what they meant.
How far along did you ever get with that?
We never got to missile away or launch in progress.
Mm-hmm. You know, the other thing that we want to show people is that oftentimes the only picture we've had of these facilities is that old grainy Air Force tape from the mid-'60s with people sitting at this very tense situation, height of the Cold War, mid-'60s. What was it like when you were down here on alert?
It was not a tense time. We were highly trained and had good crew coordination with the crew commander, and so we were prepared to do the job, but we didn't sit and dwell on as to day we're going to go and launch missiles.
And lastly, no sadness that we're seeing these facilities imploded.
No, I think this is a great day for the country, and it's a great day for arms control agreement.
Colonel, I appreciate the time. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the tour as well. We will continue with this tour, an extraordinary place here, 60 feet beneath the North Dakota plain, and walls of perhaps 2 or 3 feet of steel and concrete. We'll show you all of it next hour. For now, I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from somewhere in North Dakota.
Thanks, Jeff. And CNN, of course, will be providing live coverage of today's missile silo implosion. That's at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
It is 8 a.m. on the East Coast, 5 in the West on this Wednesday, July 5th. From the CNN Center in Atlanta, this is Early Edition, and I'm Carol Lynn. Good morning. Leon Harris is off today. Well, we begin with this story. America has celebrated its 224th Independence Day. Now government officials are taking steps to ensure our nation's independence and security. The Pentagon is gearing up for a crucial next-generation anti-ballistic missile test on Friday, even as Cold War missile silos are being destroyed. Friday's intercept test could play a role in President Clinton's decision whether to build a new radar for missile tracking. There have been 2 previous intercept tests. One succeeded, but the other failed. Just 2 days before the missile test, the Air Force is imploding Minuteman ICBM silos in eastern North Dakota. Now, under the terms of the START II treaty with Russia, the U.S. must destroy 150 silos and 15 launch control bunkers in the area. CNN's Jeff Flock is covering this story from a deactivated launch control center in Griggs County, North Dakota. And Jeff, you are going to bring us this extravaganza live all day today.
Indeed, we will be throughout the day watching as the terms of the START Treaty are being carried out here. And Carol, take a good look at what you see here, 60 feet beneath the North Dakota plain. This will not be around for long. It is one of 15 launch control facilities that will be imploded. Another 150 missile silos will be imploded. We'll watch live today on CNN as one of them are imploded. I want to give you some sense about where we are. This was a facility constructed not only to launch a nuclear missile, but also to withstand one. What you're looking at here is what amounts to a giant shock absorber. This was designed to keep this facility functioning should a nuclear holocaust take place above it here on the North Dakota plain. And speaking of the North Dakota plains, let's take a look up there. Somewhat foggy this morning, but this is where all of these silos are arrayed, 150 of them, and as we said, one to be blown up live on CNN later today. But now to some perspective on intercontinental ballistic missiles. We can tell you that in the U.S., since 1951, 67,000 nuclear missiles have been built. At a cost, we're not sure of the total cost, but in the peak years, the late 50s, early 60s, about $14 billion alone spent then. I'm joined by Professor Al Berger, University of North Dakota, to answer the question, was that money well spent?
We're still here. We didn't have a nuclear war. So in that sense, these missiles did their job.
Perspective on the missiles. What kind of power were the warheads on these missiles carrying?
Well, the original missiles, the original warheads on these missiles were about 14 times the blast yield of the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. When they modernized the warheads in the late 70s and early 1980s, 3 warheads were mounted on each missile, and they had each of them the power of about 29 Hiroshima bombs.
As we talk here, I want to show people what it looked like when this facility was constructed. We talked a little bit ago about how well fortified it was. We are standing here in front of a door that is just a massive piece of steel, massive concrete here as well. I guess this was the place to be if you were in a nuclear holocaust.
Unless the warhead dropped directly on top of this site, yes, this was the place to be.
And of course, this may have been a target.
It almost certainly was a target. These sites and the missile silos themselves are visible from satellites, and that's one of the downsides of this particular kind of missile. The upside of it, of course, is the same fixed position. It could...
It's very accurate because of the fact that it was in a fixed position.
Yes, that's right.
Professor, thanks so much. I want to get on to one of the men who spent some good time, what they call pulling alerts down here. This, of course, was a job that was carried out in this facility about 34 years. People constantly on the alert and ready to launch a missile if necessary. And we want to get some perspective from one of the men who sat in this chair before this facility was deactivated. And we've had a lot of questions about how a missile gets launched. I understand we've taken the actual part of the mechanism out where that took place, and of course there's some secrecy issues as well. But is this a button which I could lean on by accident? Give me some perspective on that.
Absolutely not. Analogy we like to use is it's kind of like firing a pistol. You have to have someone pull the safety, you cock the trigger back, and you can fire. There's absolutely no way these will accidentally go off. Whatever it takes, just many procedures, practice, and a lot of people to do this.
It's almost scary to look at, and if Rick, if you can get a look here, it's almost scary to look at some of these lights that would light up. The missile away light, for example. That's one that you certainly would never have wanted to see.
No, that's absolutely true. We hope we'd never see that.
Mm-hmm. But you, at the same time, were ready at all times. What kind of time have you spent down in these facilities?
I've been combat crew now for about 3 years. I've pulled over 100 alerts, 24-hour shifts at a time with my crew partner, and we've practiced many times while we're down here. We're constantly studying, going over our procedures. We have monthly testing, trainer rides that we have to take in the simulator.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much for the perspective this morning. We leave you perhaps with a picture of that North Dakota plane where 150 missile silos are now, but they are in the process of disappearing. We will watch as later today on CNN at about noon Eastern Time as one is imploded. Should be impressive. I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from Griggs County, North Dakota.
Certainly will be, Jeff. Thank you. And the actual implosion of the missile silo happens at noon Eastern Time, weather permitting, and we will carry it live right here on CNN.
In less than 2 hours from now, an intercontinental missile silo is due to be brought down in North Dakota. The implosion is part of the dismantling process spelled out in the final phase of the U.S.-Russia START treaty. CNN's Jeff Flock at the site now and joins us with a preview of a rather bizarre happening today. Hey, Jeff.
You said it, Bill, about an hour and a half away now, and as perhaps you can see behind us, the business of rigging it for explosives or with explosives is now underway. Detonator cord now surrounds what was a Minuteman III missile silo. I guess it's fair to say, still is a missile silo. The missile, of course, has been removed as it's prepared for implosion. Now, let's give you some perspective on where we are. We're essentially in the middle of a wheat field here in North Dakota, and of course, 150 of these silos are now about the business of being imploded. Tech Sergeant Steve Marbach has spent a lot of his time with these missiles, and it's not an easy thing to blow up one of these hardened silos that was supposed to withstand nuclear holocaust.
No, but with the crew that the Air Force has hired to do it, they're doing a good job.
Give me a tour of this thing. Show me what we're looking at here and explain what we're seeing.
Sure. Currently, what you see here, the contractor itself loading the site with explosives. Currently, the launcher closure door, which your other cameraman is standing up, is opened, exposing the launch tube itself so that they're able to get their depth charges right around the launch tube.
Now, I want to take a look at that door. Maybe Rick can get a shot of that. That is a tremendously heavy door that was designed to withstand a nuclear concussion. How heavy is that?
Well, the door is designed to protect the missile and withstand a blast. It weighs 110 tons.
Bring me over here to where, because I think it's very interesting to see where the actual missile was. And as we talk, I want to point out that some perspective, I guess, on the amount of land that these things take up. We are told that if you take all of the installations for nuclear missiles around the country, about 15,000 square miles, which is roughly New Jersey, Massachusetts, and the District of Columbia all combined. So a lot of land here, and this will go back to the farmer when it's done. What are we seeing right here in terms of this hole?
What the contractor has done is actually removed all the salvageable material he can up to this point, which is pre-blast. So it's basically a gutted, empty shell of a launch facility.
Let's go ahead and take a look down there. Rick, have you got enough rope there to get yourself down? Maybe not. Well, let's go a little bit closer if we can. We're stepping around, as you can see, a detonator cord. The orange stuff is detonator cord, and of course that is explosive right there. And of course it takes 800, we're told 800 pounds of explosives to blow this thing up. And down the hole, this is where a 60-foot long missile would be.
Yes, it was housed right inside the launch tube. The bottom of the tube itself is approximately 80 feet to the bottom, and the support equipment was surrounding it.
Before we get away here, and I want to also give our viewers, while we have the opportunity, a sense for what this looked like with in an intact phase. We had an opportunity to tour one yesterday that's still intact. I guess I would ask you as we prepare to end our broadcast, what's going through your mind in terms of the loss of this capability? And are you sad to see missiles that you worked on, silos that you worked on, be lost?
Well, it's disheartening at times because I did maintain this facility for 16 years, all the facilities here, but it's also a good thing. And no, I don't think we've lost any of our protection.
Okay. Steve Marbach, Sergeant Marbach, we appreciate your time very much. Thank you. We're going to try to get out of here without stepping on any explosives as we gingerly walk around it. Back, of course, in about an hour and a half to watch a silo, a piece of the Cold War, disappear. That's the latest from here. I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from the plains of North Dakota.
All right, Jeff, countdown 90 minutes now. Enjoy it out there. Again, CNN has live coverage of the silo implosion, now scheduled noon Eastern Time. We'll have it for you here. Quick break. Back after this.
Five times as much.
Well, it's time now to get a look at some other stories making news today.
And for that, we go to Darren in Atlanta for the latest. Hi there, Darren.
Hi, Bill and Terry. Interesting move today by the U.S. government, which will destroy a missile site that was built during the height of the Cold War. It's on the Great Plains of North Dakota. The military will implode a Minuteman intercontinental ballistic missile silo. It's to fulfill an important part of the START treaty that Washington signed with Moscow in the 1980s. And joining us now from North Dakota is our own Jeff Flock, the man in the hard hat. Hi, Jeff.
You got it. Hard hat by regulation, unfortunately, Darren. We're about as close to it as you can get. I am surrounded by detonation cord and dynamite, and perhaps you should take a good last look at this Minuteman III silo. This is your last look at it. Obviously, the missile was a long one, about 60 feet worth of missile there. That's been removed, and now this one of 150 silos across North Dakota that will be imploded. And as perhaps you see, there is orange detonator cord all over this place, and they are now about 35 minutes away from blast. Bart Anderson is one of the men in charge. How many charges have you set? How big a deal is this? How hard is it to blow up something that was supposed to withstand nuclear holocaust?
It takes about 69 2.5-inch pre-drilled holes, which get packed with modern-age dynamite, and then this granular powder crystals get dumped on top of, which is ammonium nitrate fuel oil.
This is the stuff that we used in Oklahoma City, or that was used in Oklahoma City, I should say.
Same stuff. And then they all get packed. A little bit of gravel gets packed on top to hold in the gas, and then they'll get blasted from the inside out, creating an implosion, an actual implosion that concentrically moves inward towards outward and gives relief so that we can get the maximum fracturing possible. This 10-foot thick concrete lid that we're standing on right now is one of the main targets. Outside of that is a 2.5-foot thick concrete wall, which is heavily reinforced, and that goes down about 30 feet. We only have to do the top 20 feet by the START treaty.
And you've had good luck so far?
We've had very good luck so far.
Super. Bart, thank you so much. We are going to pull our cameras back now, leaving one unmanned camera up here for the top of next hour, when you will see a relic of the Cold War perhaps destroyed right before our eyes. Stay tuned. I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from somewhere in North Dakota.
All right, Jeff, you take cover and you be careful, please, for us out there. The implosion of the missile site is set for 12 noon Eastern. You saw that up on your screen, and that is 9 a.m. Pacific. CNN does plan to bring that to you live, so stay with us. That should be just about a half hour from now. And now back up to Bill and Terry in New York.
Gonna go buy me a hard hat just in case as well. Coming up on In the Money,
And we're going to take you back now to Barnes County, North Dakota, where the Air Force is about to destruct something that's meant to be indestructible. CNN's Jeff Flock once again standing by for the big implosion. Jeff?
Indeed, we are just about ready now. We've had already one blast of a horn before we get the real blast. Let me take you over here, and this is, as we showed you just a few moments ago, this is the button that they will use. I want to take you also out to our camera. This is the last look, as perhaps you'll see, of an intact missile silo. This is M26, Mike 26, and one of the people in charge of maintaining it as we wait here for just a moment until they're ready is Larry Vetter, who has been keeping an eye on this thing since it's been deactivated, since the missile came out of it. It's not easy to blow up one of these things that was designed not to be blown up.
No, it takes some specialized skill and experience, and we're lucky we have a contractor that has that.
Have we ever had any ones where they tried to blow it and it didn't make it?
No, sir.
Okay, well, we'll hope this is not the one. How close are we? I just want to get a sense for how close we are. Lauren, how close are we? How close are we, sir?
I'm ready.
Okay, I guess he is ready. They were waiting for us, so we'll let them go ahead and do it.
Okay, go ahead. Pull it back. Yep. Ready? Yep. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit it! There's you wet. I don't know. Good shot.
How did it look, Lauren?
Looked great.
Looked like a good blast?
Yes, it did. We'll find out more when we get up there.
I know we're going to go on there, up there with you in just a moment. I want to bring in Colonel McKenzie. Colonel Kimber McKenzie is someone who you command some of the remaining Minuteman missiles. That's at Minot, correct?
Yes, Minot, North Dakota.
I guess I got to ask you what goes through your mind when you see that.
Well, this may seem a thing of the past that we just saw here today, but actually in this new century, the leadership of this nation has recommitted us to the deterrence mission, and ICBM plays a central role in that mission. One of the reasons why the ICBM is so important is that something we call prompt response. Every day, like today, over 1,000 men and women, America's airmen, have deployed into remote areas of Montana, Wyoming, and northern North Dakota to do this mission for the nation. They provide safe, secure, and reliable intercontinental ballistic missiles with the ability to respond to presidential order in minutes or seconds if necessary.
I want to pause you 1 second there because I want to see if we can take a look at that again. Obviously, it's an extraordinary opportunity to take a look at what you go through in order to eliminate one of these silos. But the point you're making is that this is not the end of them, for one, and they still have a meaning even though the Cold War is a thing of the past.
Absolutely. In this new and dangerous world we live in, the deterrent mission is alive and well, and the United States Air Force has taken that mission to heart in its intercontinental ballistic missiles.
I don't know, have we had an opportunity to take another look at that blast? Maybe somebody could tell me in my ear if we haven't. If we can do that, I'd love to go ahead and take another look at that. I don't know if that is ready. We'll do that when we get to it in just a moment. I want to bring Larry Vetter also back in here. And as we talk, Larry, perhaps they'll be able to replay that blast. You've watched how many of these, do you imagine?
This would be the 47th.
Kind of getting old hat. Let's go ahead and watch this. Look like a good blast to you?
Yes, it did. Looked real good. Should have got a good rubblization on this one.
What are we going to find when we go up there at next hour?
We're going to find a lot of rubble, exposed rebar, twisted metal, and some rock laying around.
And the final word to Colonel McKenzie. They built these things tremendously indestructibly. Your men and women have spent much of their lives down beneath the earth, maintaining these silos in the launch control area. They always felt pretty safe down there, didn't they?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the reasons why we are so successful with this extraordinary weapon system is the quality of the young men and women that volunteer to serve in the United States Air Force today. And it is extremely important for our future that we continue to recruit the outstanding men and women that America has to offer.
I've got a guy now, I'm told, and I can't see the camera myself now, but I'm told people are already headed up to the site. What will be their first thought? What will they be looking for right on?
Okay, right now what you see is the guy on the site is doing the all clear, and we're getting the signal from him, and as the people approach the site, they'll be allowed to go on and view the
So we've gotten the all clear now. We're going to be able to go up there and take a look at it. Obviously, they want to make sure there's no unexploded dynamite, that sort of thing.
That's correct. And he checks, each dead cord to make sure that it's been burnt and exploded.
Okay, so we don't step on any trouble. Larry, thank you so much. Colonel, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. We will be back in, I imagine, about 40 minutes or so. They will let us have some access to that scene once again, and we will show you what it looks like, a missile silo that does not exist anymore here in North Dakota. For now, I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, reporting live from Barnes County, North Dakota.
Jeff, before you go, one question for you. From this vantage point, the blast just didn't look that big. Is that deceptive? Is most of the destruction underground?
Indeed it is. They describe it not as an explosion, but an implosion. We've got a long shaft there, and their desire is to get it to implode and kind of collapse on itself, and so that all of the debris goes down into the shaft and fills it, because what's going to happen to this land is it's going to be offered back to the farmer who was forced to sell it some 30 or 35 years ago when these installations were put in place. So there will be wheat growing over top of this before long. Gene?
Jeff Flock, thanks so much. And India reported success.
A legacy of the Cold War is being buried in the Great Plains of the United States for good. The U.S. military is destroying several underground silos once home to long-range ballistic missiles. CNN's Jeff Flock joins us from Barnes County, North Dakota. Jeff, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. And in some sense, I suppose you could say that it looked like a nuclear missile hit it. Actually, there was once a nuclear missile here. That has been removed for a couple of years, and now the silo that housed it, perhaps you see behind me the rubble, the silo that housed it now doesn't exist anymore either. It is one of 150 silos that are being imploded here along the plains of North Dakota as part of the START treaty with the nations of the former Soviet Union. A successful blast today. We have pictures that depict what the Air Force and its contracting company has been doing to try and clean up these relics of the Cold War.
Hit it!
As they say in the demolition business, a good blast. And I will ask Colonel Kim McKenzie, who commands some of the remaining Minuteman III missiles, those in Minot, North Dakota, I should say. Was it a good blast for you, too?
It was a great blast. And although this site has become part of our history, the mission of nuclear deterrence continues into the future. And the young men and women who do that mission are backed up by folks from our local communities and our neighbors, and we couldn't do it without them.
You know, I want to put this in some perspective for our viewers, the nuclear stockpile. We're destroying now 150 silos from here, but the stockpile, which in the peak days of the mid-60s totaled more than 30,000 warheads, now believed to be, and I know you can't give us the classified numbers, but believed to be about 12,500 or so, and if the provisions of START 2 go into effect in the year 2003, could be down to 5,000. Do we have enough capability?
We have plenty of capability. Right now, today, there are over 500 Minuteman missiles and 50 peacekeepers on alert, in the jargon of the military, ready to do the job. And they provide a prompt response, the ability to respond to a presidential order within minutes or seconds. And that is enough deterrence, we believe, to protect this nation.
Colonel McKenzie, thank you. I'm going to give the last word today. I appreciate your time very much. I'm going to give the last word to the man whose family owned this land back in the 1960s when the government came along and said, we want to put a missile here. What are your thoughts today, sir?
Well, first thought is that I'm glad it was U.S. Air Force that blew it up and not the Russians.
I guess, was that on your mind, knowing that you had a missile silo here that was a potential target?
It didn't concern me too much. My mother is the one that used to be concerned about it because it was very close to the farmstead, and she always figured that if somebody bombed that missile site, why, we were too close. Dad's answer was, well, better to be too close than not just far enough away to get injured. So,
interesting thought from your father. I want to show our viewers what a cleaned-up site looks like, or at least one that's a little farther along than this one. A lot of destruction here today, but that kind of gets cleaned up, and the steel gets salvaged out of there. And now they say that they will return it to the people who own the adjoining land. That's you, sir. Do you want it back?
Right now, the part inside the fence doesn't look too inviting, but yes, I would say we would definitely want the land back. That's quite a few acres surrounding the fence here. That's good farmland, and hopefully some arrangement can be made so we can get it back and farm it again.
All right, sir. We will continue to watch that. Mr. Lenz, I appreciate very much the time. Good luck to you with the land and whatever becomes of it. As you can see, this is now what remains of a Minuteman III silo, one of 150 now, disappearing from the landscape here in North Dakota. I'm Jeff Locke, CNN, reporting live from Barnes County, North Dakota.
And we go from the former Cold War threat to the...
That is what the blast looked like. One of now 150 silos that are being destroyed in the Great Plains of North Dakota. The Air Force gave us quick access to the site. Obviously, it's still being checked out here as we speak. I want to talk to Larry Vetter, who... give me some estimation for what was accomplished here. Did your mission get accomplished?
Yes, sir. It looks like we had a real good blast. We got some rubblization that we wanted so that we can salvage the rebar and do our excavation for the observation hole. Doesn't look like they're going to be, challenged too much with extra work on this one.
Good deal. Larry Vetter, I appreciate it very much. I want to also come up and talk to the Air Force. 150 missile silos being destroyed in this fashion. Colonel Carpenter, is this a loss for the Air Force in terms of missile capabilities?
No, this is not a loss. We still maintain a very robust missile capability. We have 500 Minuteman III and 50 Peacekeeper missiles still on alert 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay. No great loss?
It's not a great loss. No, it's good news for arms control.
Good deal. Colonel, thanks so much. Appreciate it. That is the latest from here. Jeff Locke, CNN, reporting from Barnes County, North Dakota.
The Russians also have been...
Was there?
7, 6,
Built to withstand as well as mete out nuclear punishment, it took just a few seconds to destroy the indestructible.
I think this is a great day for the country, and it's a great day for the Arms Control Agreement.
The U.S. Air Force is eager to show it is committed to arms control, carrying out the terms of the START treaty while emphasizing that even destroying 150 Minuteman missile silos will not blunt its capability.
Right now, today, there are over 500 Minuteman missiles and 50 peacekeepers on alert, in the jargon of the military, ready to do the job.
As presidential candidates debate new missile systems, the keepers of the fixed-base 50s era Minuteman are facing both old and new fire.
It almost certainly was a target. These sites and the missile silos themselves are visible from satellites, and that's one of the downsides of this particular kind of missile.
But some argue the Minuteman has been more accurate than submarine-based systems and is more of a sure thing than the Star Wars systems being proposed.
What is this whole thing we're seeing here?
Most everyone agrees the Minuteman silos are extraordinary pieces of engineering. A missile door that weighs 110 tons, triple redundancy on most systems, built to withstand an incoming missile.
And we had a ground rubble or seismic action on the ground. The floor could actually move and take up the shock.
Destroying this one took 800 pounds of dynamite. The man whose family was forced to sell the land to build this one in the 1960s never liked the missile there, but now looks on the bright side.
First thought is that I'm glad it was U.S. Air Force that blew it up and not the Russians.
I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, Barnes County, North Dakota.